As I'm getting closer to retirement, I've been thinking a lot about purpose. Not because I'm lost, but because I want my next chapter in my life to truly matter. And I think anybody that goes into retirement looks at, you know, is it going to be traveling? Is it going to be, spending more time with my wife, whatever? They want something in that retirement that means something. Uh, but recently, I read a quote that kind of stood out to me, made me rethink this a little bit. It says, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." That's a quote by Pablo Picasso. And you think about, he loved to paint pictures. Well, his purpose was to eventually give those away. So this quote kind of sent me back and made me kind of go back and revisit a little bit of how I came about with this concept of the genuine mentor. So, quite a few years ago, I was traveling for work. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I had met with some of the executives that day and ended up out to dinner that night with a few of them. And somebody asked me at the table if I could do whatever I wanted in the company, what would I do? And it was funny. There was no hesitation. It just came out. And I said I would mentor new managers and turn them into great leaders. And it kind of made me think later, as we were sitting there talking, it's like, why did that come out so simple? Uh, and I got back to the hotel room and I just kept thinking about that of why was that reaction with no hesitation there? Well, obviously there was something in my gut telling me that was something. And I've always said to leaders in my training, so on, a lot of time our gut instinct is our most honest one. And anyway, that night I got my computer out. I started making notes. It's like, why, and just kind of kept writing, and a lot of pondering. And the realization that come out of that was rather interesting to me. It wasn't like I was trying to find something to do. I wasn't looking at the future saying, I want to do this, I want to do this. The realization came to me by not necessarily asking the right question, but instead of asking a question about what do I want to do with my life? So there's where it kind of came back to, um, well, what do I want to do with my life? Well, be honest with you, if the company at that time would have wanted to just solely have me go mentor new leaders in the company, that would be great. But that's not something that happened. And so through this process, I decided, well, maybe I don't need to do it with the company. I can just do this as part of my retirement plan. So anyway, that realization kind of came to me. And so this page in this book caught my attention, and it made me kind of go back and say, okay, I want to reevaluate. I've now started the Genuine Mentor. I'm creating these videos. I've been writing blogs. I've been doing all these things, generating traffic. I've got training material out there now. Uh, Things are starting. And so I took this book and thought, well, let me go back. And so I'm going to do a little bit of reading. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I want some points that uh, I wrote in my blog to stand out. But this book talks about 10 areas to help you find your purpose. And instead of using them to discover my purpose, and I want to state that I didn't use these to discover my purpose. I feel like I know my purpose. I feel like as you go into retirement, you've lived that career life and some of those things. So then it's like turning that around and comparing it to, instead of what my purpose is, I use these to validate more of where I'm already going. So I compared each of these 10, and I'm going to hit topics on these, but I'll try not to get too deep and too reedy. So number one was identify your core value, which, pretty standard, right? We all have a core value within us, and we want to maintain that, and like probably everyone, my core value is my family, my spouse, uh, my life, in that respect, But then as I turn this and say, well, outside of that, what's my hobbies, so on, and it kind of come back to the career. And my core value there was really, again, helping others grow, however that is, whether it's a leader or whether it's my kids, whether it's a neighbor, however I can help somebody. That's just one of my core values. Um, and I want to read this one part. I did not always recognize it as a defining value when I was living it, but looking back, it influenced almost every leadership decision I made. The moments that stayed with me were not just the business wins or the completed projects. They were the times when someone developed confidence, learned something new, or moved into a better opportunity because somebody took the time and invested in. That's what matters. So when I say I want to lead people, it's finding that purpose there. Number two, what brings you joy? Again, traveling, family, spending time with my wife, those are all things. But mentoring leaders has always been something I've enjoyed. That's probably why that lack of hesitation when I said this with leadership people. But there's something powerful about seeing a person start to believe in themselves. You can almost see the shift happen. They stop waiting for permission. They begin asking better questions. They take ownership and they start to see themselves differently. That right there again explains it. That is such a cool feeling. And again, it doesn't have to always be a leader. It could be anybody. Coaching athletics. People probably have feelings the same way. Number three, following your curiosity. Um, you know, I think for me, I think I always have had this curiosity, and I think our curiosity leads to our purpose. Um, I look back on all the different jobs that I had and different things. I was curious how to learn, how to do things better, how to. I always had that lean mind too of how do things work better. And then setting meaningful goals. This one actually was interesting to me because for many years, different trainings I was in, we spent a lot of time talking about goals, especially in sales trainings. But over time, I've kind of moved out of the goals, and I started focusing more on habits. And I got that when I got diabetes. I needed to change my mindset. I didn't. A diet is a diet that ends. You need to change how you eat, how you live. You need to change the habit. So from there, I kind of got a different twist on goals. I look at things, if it's important, it needs to become a new habit, not just a goal that's going to eventually end. Using your strengths intentionally is number five. Uh, Hard work became one of my defining traits. Uh, Whenever I talked to people that I knew and people that I worked with, oh, you're just such a hard worker. I heard that all the time. At work, that same value of hard work helped me succeed, but other strength quietly emerged over time, which was calmness. People would say, you're always calm, you're just easy to talk to, and you don't seem to get too flustered. I don't know. I feel like I still get flustered in my old age here, but uh, uh, you look at those two things, hard work and calm. They listen not only to your words, but your tone, your pace, and your reactions under pressure. That consistency built trust. And trust is one of the greatest leadership strengths a person can develop. 6, practicing self reflection. Again, I think this is a very important one, is looking back and saying, hey, did I say the right thing there? Did I present things the right way? Uh, I think most of us are this way. I know that I am. I'm my worst critic, and I really push on myself, and that's just something that's in me, is doing that. But without reflection, growth becomes accidental. So you want to have purpose in what you're doing. Number 7 is serve others in ways that feel authentic. Well, I think it's interesting as authentic, genuine, kind of play with each other a little bit there, but without realizing it, I naturally gravitated towards servant leadership. I did not call it that because I hadn't heard the term servant leadership at the time, but that's what it was. Um, I never viewed knowledge as something to protect, and I wanna state that because oftentimes and I'm sure people in your work, you've run across people that they may be very knowledgeable, but they don't share it. They feel like holding that knowledge in creates power for them. And if they give up that knowledge, um, then what do they have? What edge do they have? But somebody told me something once that really, really stuck with me. You can never advance in your career unless you have somebody ready to take your place. Now, that's not always true, but that statement, think about it. The best advancements I had was when I had my successor all trained up and ready to go. I made it a simple move. They already knew who it was. They were trained. I had given them everything I could give them, and it was time for me to move on. So, just a great, great thought process there. Number 8, letting go of distractions. Um, when you care about your work, when you are responsible, and when people depend on you, it is easy to let work take more space than it deserves. My distraction for a lot of my life was my work. I probably wasn't the best family member. Uh, I did go through a divorce, and I worked. I was a hard worker. I was achieving things. I was doing things. But since I now have a little better sense on my priorities, but that I shouldn't say work was a distraction, but it was because I spent a lot of time. There were times I was gone out of the house at 6 in the morning, didn't come home till after 9 o'clock at night. Uh, the line can slowly move, and before you realize it, you have given your best energy to work and your leftovers to the people that matter. I don't want to be in that spot, and I don't think anybody should be in that spot. Um, Number 9, embrace personal growth. We all need to focus on our personal growth. We need to keep learning and improving and trying. Uh, this is where things really help us as we move forward in life because things are consistently changing and we need to consistently change as human beings. I look back on my career and when I was first hired, um, my first job was packing sheetrock and loading shingles on roofs. And later, I talked to my supervisor at the time, and I asked, "Well, why is that the starting position?" And he said, "Well, that's the worst position. And anybody that makes it through that, they'll end up being good workers. So, that was kind of a test phase. You look at today and you look at our generation coming up into the workforce. Not there's anything wrong with them, but there's a different shift. They have different importances, and physical labor sometimes is not one of those. uh, they have other things to offer. We need to look and change to find that thing that they can offer and bring, and not put everybody in the same box. um, and then number 10 is live with intention. Purpose is not one big decision, it's a thousand small ones. I think that's a profound comment there, that you think about that climbing the ladder things. Everything we do are just small steps in life. And again, with living with diabetes, I have to take choices in my health every day. And I kind of, that's just an example of every day, those little tiny choices make up whether I remain healthy. Uh, all of this is the same in leadership and in purpose in life, is just taking those steps. So quick, there's the 10 things that we went I went through, and it's interesting now as I look back. I've taken that approach and looked at it a little different way. I'll call it, I kind of reverse engineered this process. And as I look back now on my life, I look back on my career. I already mentioned to you what I like, of helping others grow. But I look back, and I don't think the things that were I felt important at the time were as important as they really were. Uh, it wasn't the promotions. It wasn't the titles that I received. It wasn't the raises or the money. It wasn't the pieces of the business that I think oftentimes people look at are the most important. What it came to me was watching others grow and seeing that, like I mentioned before, of seeing how good it feels to see somebody that you've worked with finally start to take a hold of things and move forward. Uh, it was seeing that confidence. It was watching people that were in a management role become a leader, helping somebody believe that they were capable. Seeing somebody gain their confidence is huge. And for the first time, I really realized that I wasn't measuring my career by what I accomplished. Was measuring my career on something else. I was measuring it on the people that I helped. So the other night, as I wrote a blog about this, and now wanted to turn it into a video, and I was thinking about all the people, and there are people within the company I still work for that are still with the company. They've moved up the ladder. They're in great jobs. There are people that have left the company. They're in another company that have great jobs. But there's a fair amount of people that I feel like I had some influence on. But also in reverse, I got thinking that there were also an awful lot of people that had a great influence on me. And, I want to thank those people, because somebody saw something in me and helped me grow. And each of these positions that I got, somebody else saw something, and there was a progression. And these roles that I had helped me learn. This was my career path of having a lot of people challenge me, throw me into roles that I'd never been in, and know that they knew that I had something that I could probably be very successful in. But let's come back to why I built a genuine mentor now. You can see as I went through this process that my realization was that I wanted to help people, and how could I do that? And so today, in our global communication process of being here on the internet, we can reach a lot of people. And so, not that I feel like I'm great on video, but this is a way that I can reach and give these messages out to people. So the Genuine Mentors mentoring moments are these exact kind of things that I've learned in my career, how I've helped people, and hopefully how it can help you. So there's where the Genuine Mentors got started. I've got trainings out there. I wasn't looking for another job. I was looking for what am I going to do when I retire, because I'm not somebody that's going to sit on the couch. I need to be doing something. I have to feel like I'm contributing something in my life. And so this is part of it. Uh, I simply wasn't ready to stop. That's what it comes down to. I like a lot of the things that I've done in my career, and I'm not ready to stop that. So anyway, that's part of what I wanted to give a message today of how do I pay this forward, give it back. There are people that help me. I want to continue helping people. But another thing I want to point out is this helped me figure out that I wanted to help people. The last thing I want to point out is how did I come up with the name? Well, back here on my wall, you'll see this picture. It's got this yellow tree in the middle of a green forest. And I know you probably can't see it very well, but several years ago, as a work project, you have these pictures that are hanging in offices that say attitude or whatever. They're to help get people excited about things. This picture was a process that we did to identify who you were. And so this company, you filled out this questionnaire, you had an interview, and from that questionnaire, they boiled it down and they come back and they'd give you a list of words, and then you would reevaluate those words and then go through it again, send it back. They'd reevaluate it and add some more words in there and come back, and then you'd have another interview, usually like 15-minute little interviews, and then last you boiled it down and you came out with your three key words. And my key word was genuine, and my other key words are creative, dependable, and respectable. Sorry, uh, respectable. So, you know, genuine plays into this. I think my creative side got me digging into this internet world and how to figure this out. But anyway, that's where the Genuine Mentor come from. Was if I was going to be a coach or whatever, I want it to be genuine and have that. So as we close here, maybe you're trying to figure out your purpose. If that's a possibility, let me leave you with one sentence. And what part of your life do you never want to have end? Okay, somebody's going to say, well, my life, I don't want to die. Okay, but what's something you've done in your life that you don't want to end? There's probably something in that sentence that kind of helps you see that. Um, I hope this story resonates with you. I'd be honored if you would hit subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on this journey. Um, but if you even want to learn more, I have blogs out on my website. I have training. Go to thegenuinementor.com and subscribe there. And if you do that, as an appreciation, I've taken my last training, and for any new subscribers, I'll give away my last training that I just put out. So anyway, I hope this brings something to those that listen. And again, think about your purpose in life, where you want to go. And if you're new in your career, if you're younger, this is a great great tool to kind of follow and work on what do I want to be. Again, mine was reversed because I'm pretty much through my work career. So hopefully that gives you a little idea. So anyway, I thank you for listening and hope you have a great day.